Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about how you're never too old to start something new. Yes, that is a thinker. So, luckily for me, I have Bill here who wrote a book about this exact statement, so that we can really think about this. So, Bill, I have a quick question for you. When you hear that statement, what does that make you think about?
It makes me think about how, in this country, old age or getting older is looked at differently than in other parts of the world. You know,
Correct.
that's the first thing that hits me is in other cultures, people that are getting older are honored because they have a certain wisdom by just being on the planet longer. You learn more
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And when I was in my 20s, I didn't think anybody, in their 50s or 60s knew what they were talking about. And then as I got into my 50s and 60s, I realized they knew almost exactly what they were talking about, or just that they had a different experience. So I believe, um, age is, or better yet, we never stop changing.
Mm,
From the time we're 2 to 4, we change. Four
mm.
to six, we change. 6 to 12, we change. What does it stop at 50? I don't think it's set up that way. I don't think that's the way the universe is set up, so that we never stop changing. And if we never stop changing, then we never stop learning.
That's a very good point. You mean it's such a valid point that we never stop changing because even insurance policies had to change their will in the way that they structure their whole life insurance because it used to be up to 100. If you add up to 100, then it'll go to their beneficiaries. But now they're saying that people are living past 100. So they're
Yeah.
saying now that if you live past 100, they pay you all of your whole entire life insurance policy. And then that's it. That's the end that's the end of your life is supposed to be at 100, so you get all your money back. So it's just crazy how it's changing just because now the halfway point is 50. You're only halfway there once you make it to 50. You all this life ahead of you, depending on health, where you live, environment, community, every like what you're taking. Like people don't realize once you're at 50, I mean, you made a good stretch. You're at that point where it's like you gained so much, you've learned so much, you've seen so much in your lifetime. It's so sad that people don't think of like people of their elders or older them that hold wisdom. They just think they're just like what's that word? Oh, I can't think of it. But it's not smart. You know what I mean? But we
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
in media.
They're
We see that
ignorant.
in movies, how when you're old, you're just babbling nonsense. But that's not always nonsense. Sometimes there's reason
No.
for it. There's parables into it, you know what I mean? And people really have to think about it. And just the younger generation, they just want everything so fast and this instant. The understanding just or the answer right now that they don't grasp the lesson. They don't grasp the understanding until they actually experience it. And I've learned from somebody older from me who said there's people they fall into three categories. They learn from other people, they learn from their own mistakes, or they're fools and they don't learn at all. So what is your opinion on that?
I think it's a lack of humility is
Mm,
why I think younger people can act like they know everything. And I also think it's just part of being that age. When I
yeah.
look back at the 60s, I was growing up in the 60s, but my sister and others who were in their 20s, they were just kind of ingrained into pushing back, into fighting back, because now they had more rights. And then I'll talk to a lot of those people from the 60s that have gotten older and had kids. Their politics change. You know, I do believe that, based on what you just said, as far as the three groupings, there's an old saying that I've heard: pain pushes till the vision pulls. And that's how change happens. That pain pushes till the vision pulls. And think about it. We change out of pain. we change out of fear, or we change out of, you can call it a vision, you can call it a psychic shift, you can call it God, you can call it learning experience, close to death.
Yeah.
That's when I've seen people change. I'm only 63 years old. The bulk of people in America make most of their money between 50 and 80. That's where the
Interesting.
bulk of the millionaires stand, or people who really, because they've gotten smarter about it. They're
Yeah.
not out, partying it away or taking trips that they
True.
can't afford, living outside of their means.
Yeah.
Um, and
That's
and
true.
and I do feel that parenting has changed how some people think, and 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 more than anything, the media and social media have changed, because think about it, how many times are we hearing that suicide rates have gone up? So people looking at Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok thinking, why isn't my life? Why doesn't my life look like that? And what
Yeah.
everybody needs to remember, it's anywhere from less than a second to 30 seconds of one's experience. You know, um, I had a partner, I'm gay, and I had a partner years ago who was out on a date, and he had posted it on Facebook. And the
Mhm.
two of them were smiling and we're very friendly. And I said to him, "Oh, it looks like you had a good time last night with Anthony." He
Yeah.
went, "It was a horrible evening." And I said, "Well, your Facebook post, you guys were smiling." "Bill, they put a camera in front of my face and I smiled. It was horrible." And they ended up breaking up. And
Oh,
immediately I had that shift in my head that I went, "Oh, I don't know what happened before or after."
yeah.
It's like I heard a comedian say one time that when you see these pictures of people traveling and they're, "Look at me, and I'm in Greece and I'm in Italy." What they don't see is that they spent, 4 hours at baggage claim, that they got dysentery and somebody stole their wallet. You
That's
don't
true.
see those other pieces of what the full story is. And and think about it, when we were growing up, a sitcom, 30 minutes, people's life changed in 30 minutes. There was an obstacle, then there was something happened, and then there was a solution. And we start to think, is that how life works? No, time is relative. It really is like when someone says, "Oh, well, my mom passed away," and someone else says, "Well, how long ago was that?" "It was 6 months," and you're still upset about it. I'm sorry, mourning takes as long as it takes. And we need to honor each other on how we deal with time passing, you
Yeah.
know? One of my
Mhm.
neighbors, her mom just died. She was 91. She is devastated. And this woman had been sick for a long time. And you would think that she'd be like ready to release her. No,
Yeah.
no, because now her whole purpose has shifted. And it might take her a couple months, it might take her several years to get over it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people never get over stuff that happens. And
Yeah.
so regarding change, yeah, and I think the people who, it's not that they can't learn, it's that they're not willing to learn, right?
Yeah. I
I'm
like that.
clean and sober 27 years. And there's one thing that we always say around our recovery people: you can't get somebody else sober. They have to be willing.
Mhm.
They have to have had that shift in perception, that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, or I can't do this on my own anymore. And I have to surrender to a power, a God, an energy that I can't see, but I can't handle it anymore. That's how I got sober. I totally surrendered. I just knew I couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't know what to do next. I was ready to listen. Because once you're in a willingness stage, then you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
it's like it's like our elections. Look at the people that are just on both sides. No, it's Harris or nothing. It's Trump or nothing. You got to be open to listen to each other and then vote on
Yeah.
policy. Don't vote on personality anymore. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
take. That's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
do. I'm voting on policy. What speaks to me?
Yeah.
Not,
I agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it divides us, and young people see that. And if they see us acting like idiots, they're gonna act like idiots.
Exactly. Or they're just going to feel like, well, if they're not going to pay attention or act right, then I'm going to do it and I'm going to take charge and I'm going to lead this and I'm going to set the
Yeah.
tone and make
I
the
mean,
direction. And when you get those, then it could be something great or it could be lead into a tyrant, you know what I mean? You never know the direction
babies
that
aren't born racist.
exactly. There's a quote that I read the other day where it said that racism is an adult disease and it shouldn't be spread by children. You know, and I
You
think
bet. Love
it's
that.
a very valid point because it shouldn't be children shouldn't recognize the prejudice and the discrimination that we've experienced or we've been taught and that now we're spreading across as if this is the way of life. Like, no, this is not the way of life. This is a choice. And now we need to choose to make a different decision and teach something differently. So it's very valid. And I also liked earlier how you said somebody has to be at that point where they want to get better,
Yeah.
want to seek help, want to have that it's like that epiphany moment, like, oh, I need that, I need that change, and you have to surrender. And I think many people have to go through that to just get that type of change. You know what I mean? We all learn differently, we all react differently, we all respond differently to life, because on at the end of the day, we are all different. The only thing that makes us all common is the fact that we are all human beings. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
because we're all human beings, we all have to realize we got to know when it's time to learn something. You know what I mean? We got to be willing to be a student at any given time and just admit to the fact that I don't know everything and I'm not going to know everything, but I am willing to learn from you, or I am willing to learn so that I can gain the understanding or the perspective needed so that I can see your point of view or can see why this is the way it is, or you know what I mean, just the functionality, just having that basic ground of foundation. People don't have that, and it's like they're playing Jenga off of one little Jenga and they're trying to build, but like, no, you need to spread it out. You know what I mean? You need to build up, down, ride, all over.
No, no,
So
totally. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say a lot of people are scared of rock bottom, and then a lot of people are motivated to never reach rock bottom. So that it's like their motivator. For you, what is it for you when you hear the words rock bottom?
Well, that's an interesting. Um, rock
Mm,
bottom
now think about it.
from a sobriety standpoint can look different for everybody.
Yeah, that's
Some
true.
people think that there's a low bottom, a medium bottom, and a high bottom drunk. Meaning that some people got sober and still had a great job. I did, but I had lost my sense of spirituality and there was a big hole inside of me. So I call myself kind of a medium bottom drunk that I got sober and didn't lose my furniture. So with some people when they hit a low bottom and rock bottom can be that you're just like I said, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You've alienated yourself from your loved ones. You're financially, you can't take care of yourself or others. You lose. I mean, we used to call them God shots. I'm sorry. We used to call them jackpots. God shots, something different. Jackpots were when, and I got sober in Boston. So jackpots were when things happened due to your drinking and drugging. Might not have been on the day that you're drinking and drugging, but the aftermath of it, the karma of it, of you attracting negativity to you. See, I'm a big believer and I have to practice this. Whatever I put out, I get back.
Yeah.
So if I put out a lot of gratitude, gratitude only knows itself. The quality of gratitude only knows itself. So the more things I'm grateful for, the more things come into my life for me to be grateful for, no
Yeah.
matter what I have. Because think about it, anything else, it's all just an appearance. It's really about our intuitive voice. It's about, and this is why I kind of, this is why I made a movie. This is why I wrote a book. This is why I moved to LA when I was 40. We're not here that long. At the end of
We're
the day,
not.
that people don't talk about, none of us are going to get out of here alive.
We're
None of
not.
us.
We're
No,
really
no,
not.
no. We're all going to be voted off the island. So it's just the way it is. And then when we watch the news and I see what's going on in Gaza, in the Ukraine, in the Congo, and I'm worried because my mailman didn't show up at the time he normally does, or HBO Max might be raising their price. Oh no, it's these little things. And I know that we're in the consciousness of this culture, but
Yeah.
we can step out of it and really look at what's important. Can I
Hmm.
swear on this on the
Yeah, go
podcast?
ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Nothing fucking matters is the way I look at life. And when I say that, I don't mean, if there's a child hurt on the street or, we need
Yeah.
to help people. I meant in regards to the egoic things that we get caught up in. None of it fucking matters. Does that person love me enough? Does this one do? I can't control any of that. All I
Hmm.
can control, all I can control are two things. One, what I attach to in regards to my thoughts.
Yeah.
We all have thoughts. They're just coming in. Some are crazy, but I have control over what I attach myself to, whether it's happiness or sad, or I go down that dark night of the soul, or
Hmm.
whatever it is. But I have control over that. I really do. And some people are like, I have no control over it. Well, maybe you need a med. I don't know. Maybe you need more prayer, and maybe you need to go jogging. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to, whatever it is, get away from toxic people. But that is the one thing. And then the other thing, which is kind of similar, it's the choices that we make.
Yeah.
And those are the only things we really have control over. Falling in love with someone is a wonderful feeling, but if they don't feel the same way, you have to be able to,
Let go.
detach with love,
Yeah.
honor the love that you feel. But
Hmm.
and then you might, but if you're and it's a practice, it's a
It
fucking
is.
practice. But when I finally realized nothing fucking matters, I had a whole shift. I really did. I was like, yeah, I've my best friend from college has Alzheimer's at 60. He was 61 when he got it. He's already in a senior living facility.
Oh,
Three
wow.
other friends of mine who were healthier than me, like I'm overweight, I need to lose at least 40 pounds. These people, one of them was vegan and hiking every day. Another one swam here in the ocean in LA in
Uh-huh.
Playa Del Rey. Um, 30, no, was it 30? It couldn't be 30. 3 miles every Sunday. They swam in the ocean out here. Great shape. Both of them got cancer. Both were dead within a year.
Goodness, yeah. I mean, people who take care of themselves and people who don't take care of themselves, their timeline makes no difference. It makes
And
no
Rick was
difference.
saving his money. He was getting ready to retire. He had over $1 million ready to go. Just that's where his life was. It all mattered about that. Diagnosed in May, died in December.
Wow, people get so caught up in the details, not even actually being able to enjoy the life. That's a good point. It's a valid point because people are so caught up in being people pleasers and worrying about so and so. Oh, what is
Yeah.
my family gonna say? What is my pastor gonna say? What is so and so gonna say? What is my teacher gonna say? What is my mom gonna say? What do
Yep.
you say? You know what I mean? What does your heart telling you? Because you
Yeah.
can't please the world, because damn if you do, and damn if you don't. You know what I mean? So what do you say? You say, fuck it. You say, it doesn't matter because I'm going to do it because it makes me feel good. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not harming anyone. And no one's in danger. I'm not in danger. So if makes you uncomfortable and out of place, well, that sounds like a personal problem. And it seems like you need to deal with that because my life matters to me. And once people realize that you matter because you're breathing, you're existing, and you have a soul inside you that can feel, that can hear, that can just embody everything that's happening in this world, then who's to say that it's wrong? That you want to go to hike or you want to go lay down? Nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody, and people just needs to realize it takes that initiative and that understanding that once you have that perspective shift, it's so freeing. For
It's
real,
so
it's
free.
so freeing. Like
And
I
the
put up my boundaries now, and people are like, not like that. Why are you like that? I'm like, I don't care. If you don't like my boundaries that I have to put up so that I can feel safe, that I can feel at home and just have my peace of mind, and and you want me to break that for your comfort, I can't do that anymore for anybody, you know?
No, and we can be loving and we can be compassionate and we can be of service, but we don't have to be people pleasers. We don't have to give away our energy and we don't have
Exactly.
to be doormats. And it really is
Exactly.
finding that happy medium of becoming right size to, there was a thing, another saying I heard years ago, say what you mean what you say, just don't say it mean.
Because I've also heard you can say anything. It's the tone that you say it in that
Totally.
determines if it's going to be received in a certain way. Because I've actually put people in their place and they were just dumbfounded because I put it in their place in such a calm manner and in such a calm tone. They couldn't react the way that they wanted to react because I was so calm that they were just like, am I supposed to argue or am I supposed to, so they just stay quiet and they figure that out because it just shows they still have a lot to heal from. They still have a lot to relearn because that's the thing. We are relearning constantly, especially when you're older. Especially when you get older, I swear, after your 30s or once you hit that 30-mile mark, you are literally relearning everything that you've learned from like 6 years old to like 20 years old. You are literally relearning everything to try to figure out what's true to you, what works for you, what embodies and makes you feel right because we are so forced to think a certain way, act a certain way by culture, by region, by religion, by sex, by so many things that it's like forced us to just be in this box where it's like, no, let me just be
And we
me,
can
even if it doesn't make you comfortable.
And think about it, we can have a life of service and
Yeah,
still care for ourselves. We really
exactly.
can. Because it is about being grounded. I know people that are caretakers and they have to take the time for themselves and they understand what their boundaries are. I had to recently cut ties with a woman I've known for years, and she's been extremely passive aggressive. It's a very transactional friendship. She's very toxic, and she has stepped over some boundaries, like
Yeah.
just stepped right over them. And I finally, lovingly, I chose not to respond to her emails or phone messages or anything. And eventually she came to my front door and said, "Are you okay?" And she didn't say, "Have I done anything? Can we talk about our friendship?" It was just, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine." And she's like, "Well, you haven't responded to any of my calls." "I've been busy."
Yeah.
I said it just like that and smiled. And she tried again later. It's now been 8 months that I've been able
Persistent.
to, yep. And I'm just detaching with love. I pray for her. I wish her well, but I don't have to get pulled back into that hole because it makes me feel, I don't feel good when I mean, when I walk by her house, my stomach goes, oof. And
Yeah.
it's just because that's how toxic she is to me.
Yeah, I
Means she's
absolutely
a toxic
agree
person.
because I think everybody has their own level of toxicity to
Yes.
somebody else. You know what I mean? But we don't know where that level is because we don't know where that person's healing process or where they are at. Because sometimes you can be toxic in one stage of someone's life and once they finally healed, they can move on and then bring you back in and then everything will be okay. But I think it's just understanding where you are right now. And if right now that person's toxic for you where you're better off not having them in your present space, then allow that to be and protect your space because your well being matters. And if she decides to evolve and grow and learn her own toxic traits, because once we learn our own toxic traits and start working on them, then it actually helps us. You know what I mean? Deal with other people again. So it's like if she learns, then great. She may be coming back into your life again. And if not, well, then you know what? Makes no difference because you already kicked her out of your life, so it is what it is. Because I have a someone like that too from back in college. I loved her dearly back then. We were great back then. That was a season in my life back then. But now that I've grown and evolved years later, I'm just like, I'm no longer that person. And anytime you communicate with me, that's all you're stuck in is that time frame. It's like I can't be in that time frame because I'm in this time frame. So because I'm in this time frame, you need to keep up with me, or you're gonna stay where you are at because I can no longer think in the way that I thought back then. You know? Does that make
And as
sense?
yeah, no, it totally does. And as you get older, and this is, it's a generalization, but there is some truth to it. Your world gets of friends gets smaller.
Yep.
Some because people die. Like I
Yeah.
lost a lot of friends recently. And during the AIDS epidemic, I lost a lot of friends. But now it's weird. It's like we're not in our 80s, and yet people are dying in their 50s and 60s from cancer, heart attacks, suicide. I mean, just across the board. And it kind of blows my mind when I think about it of, wait a minute, everybody's too young. What's happening here? And
Yeah.
three of these people were like best friends of mine. And now and I still haven't gotten over it.
Yeah.
I lost my parents in 2010 within 4 months of each other. My dad was 89. He stopped work at 85. That's why this conversation is good. And then he died
Wow.
of, heart related. And then 4 months later, my mom was killed in a car accident at 85. She was still working at
Oh,
the Candy Manor in Chatham, Massachusetts, making chocolate 4 days a week at 85. Okay. And
wow.
she probably would have lived well into her 90s. And she had said to me 2 weeks prior, they were married for 64 years. She said, Bill, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to come out and visit you and your dogs. And then I just want to go. Now, she wasn't suicidal or anything, but I think the energy and where she was at, she wasn't thinking straight. And this is something everybody should hear. If
Yeah.
you're dealing with a trauma in your life where someone has died, be very aware of your surroundings for at least a few weeks because people tend to be accident prone after they lose a loved one. Like I literally fell in the backyard at 4 in the morning trying to bring in one of my dogs and I hit my head on a metal chair. And it was right after they had died. And I'd fall a lot or I'd bump my head. And someone told me that who dealt with death and dying and said, Bill, people are a little off kilter. So, your chi is off, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that be careful. And it just makes sense because we're so distraught.
Yeah.
Like my neighbor who just lost her mom, I'm worried about it because she's very, very heavy and
Yeah.
she's not stable, physically. And I worry about her falling. But,
Yeah.
it's just us being more aware, more observant of what our experience is and what we're dealing with.
That's true. That's a very valid point. Goodness. I'm so sad because the time is running up and we have to say goodbye. So sad. So, what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave my audience off with to keep on thinking? Even though, let's be honest, this whole conversation has been great to think about, great points, but what can be some lasting words?
I have to plug my movie and I'm gonna plug it in a way because it speaks to what the topic is. I got laid off from corporate America at the age of 60.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And then
Okay.
I ended up, I'd always been writing on the side. And then a friend of mine who's in his 60s said, Bill, would you like to turn your stage musical into a low budget film? I had no experience doing that at all. So at the age of 61, 62, we made Paradise, a Town of Sinners and Saints, as a low budget feature. It picked up distribution through Artist View Entertainment and is now
Uh,
on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Google Play, YouTube Movies, you name it. So I say this because if you're in your 60s and you think, oh my God, I just got laid off, because a lot of
yeah.
people are getting laid off right now.
Yeah.
Look to the people that you know, your friends, and you might find yourself collaborating on something totally different. And it's a whole new chapter in your experience moving forward. So
Yeah.
anything is possible at any age. And Google how many people did this and that when they were 60, 70, 80, 90. It goes
Yeah.
on and on. So we don't stop until they throw dirt on us.
There you go. I like that very much. How can you go wrong with that type of response? It gives you a lot to think about. See,
Yeah.
there you go. So, if ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would like to know more, please check out his website. I have it on my website. right there under his photo. You can check out everything that Bill's offering to the world so that we can continue on thinking, because that's the point, right? Continue on thinking, shift our perspective, and always, always keep learning. So, with that being said,